For DMA 50, Section 8, we're going to be talking about inequalities. Basically, we're going to be doing everything that we did with the equal sign in the equation, but we're just changing the equal sign to inequalities and then graphing it. So a few things we want to go over before we do some examples. If you notice that if you have just the less than or greater than symbol, when you start your graph in My Math Plus, you're going to be making a dotted line. If you have a greater than or equal to symbol, or I'm sorry, less than or equal to symbol and greater than or equal to system, you can actually draw a solid line. And I will show you how to do all this stuff with an example in My Math Plus. If you see a less than or less than and equal to, you are going to shade beneath the line. So you draw your line, and then there's a bucket that's going to be that we're going to click on, and we're going to shade beneath it. If it's greater than or greater than equal to, then we're going to shade above it. And we're going to click the head. So we're going to draw a graph first, make it solid or dashed, and then we're going to click the bucket either on the left side or greater than sign. So here's just a few examples of what the My Math Plus is going to look like once you produce your answer. So you graph the line, shade whatever direction that the symbol, the inequality sign tells you in the problem. A few things that you want to make sure you're aware of. Again, solve for y first, like we've been doing, because you want to put in that form of y equals mx plus b. So we can put it in our calculators, grab 2 points, hitting second graph to grab 2 points to graph. And then we're going to make sure that in the process of getting y by itself, if you ever divide by a negative number, then you're going to flip the inequality sign. Graph solid and dash and then shade above and left. So let me show you an example of one that you're going to be flipping the sign when you get to one. So say that we have the equation 2x minus y is greater than or equal to, let's say, negative 5. So we already know we got to solve for the problem by getting y by itself. So we're going to minus 2x on both sides. This cancels, so we have negative y is greater than or equal to negative 2x minus 5. Now again, we need to get y by itself, and that means it also needs to be positive. So we're going to divide everything by this understood 1 in front. So here is the rule that we just stated in the slides, where if you are dividing by a negative number, then this inequality sign gets flipped. So these cancel out. So we have y is now less than or equal to, they flip, positive 2x plus 5. And then this is what we're going to graph in the calculator and then in My Math Plus. So let me go ahead and show you a few examples. So again, get y by itself, graph the problem. And once you get your 2 ordered pairs, I'm actually going to do number 4 example first. So here we have, and let me grab, actually I'm going to do it on the regular one so I can graph it for you. And so you can see how everything gets graphed. So let's graph this one. So we're going to go ahead and get y by itself first. So here, these two are being multiplied together, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 5. So I have x over 5, and you just make the negative. It doesn't matter if it's on the top or anything. You can just put it off to the side. It all means the same thing. So these 5s will cancel out. And because I divided with a negative, I'm going to flip this inequality sign. So this is going to be our final answer. Now, for me, as far as preference, this is not for everybody. This is just for me preference. I like to have my y on the left side, not on the right side, as you see it here. So, because it just reads the problem a lot easier when you want to think about shading left, greater than or less than. So, I'm just going to flip it, put the y on the left side now, but make sure it's still pointing to the y. So, we got to flip this inequality sign again, and then negative x over 5. So this is going to what I'm going to put into my calculator to find my two order pairs. So I would suggest you always keep the y on the left side. So if you flip it, just make sure you flip it again. But you still got to flip it if you divide by a negative number. So make sure you write those two little things down so you won't forget. So we're going to come to our calculator and put negative x over 5. Let's clear out what we have here. Negative x divided by, divided by 5. Hit second and graph. I'm going to write down two or all points. So 0, 0 looks like to be one of the easiest ones to write down. So I'm going to write down this one first. And just go to another easy one. Don't do decimals. Just go to the easy one, 5, and then negative 1. So we're going to click on, let's get our equation 2. So y is less than or equal to negative 5x over x over 5. So we're going to click on our graph. The two order pairs that I've written down, first of all, we're going to click on our line, and because it's going to be a less than or equal to, remember it's going to be a shaded, I'm sorry, a solid line. So here is the considered to be the solid line, and this is considered to be the dashed line. So we click the line tool, and it's already marked on solid. So we go to our first point, look up here in the top left right hand corner, and make sure it says 0, 0 before you click. The next one will be 5, negative 1, negative 1. So we click here. And because it's less than, this is considered to be the greater side of the line, and this is considered to be the left side. So I'm going to go to this little bucket, click it, and then shade, and it fills in the shaded part area for you to represent less than. So we check answer, and we got it right. So let's do another example. I'm going to go to number 6. And remember, in the other slides too, if it's just in X or just in Y by itself, you know it's going to be either vertical or horizontal. Remember, Y is always going to be horizontal, X is going to be vertical. So there's really nothing that we need to know with this one. We know it's going to be at 4. We know it's going to be less than. So that means we're going to go get a dash line this time. Go to 4. And just keep it straight. So just make sure the line is straight. It does not matter where you click, so long as that line is a horizontal line going through 4 on the y-axis. Now less than, so because this down here is considered to be less and these are greater, click the bucket, shade lower, and then that gives you the answer to this particular one. So that's pretty much all of section 8 that you need to be aware of. It's just shading and making sure you solve for each of the problems for y, and making sure if you divide by a negative, make sure you flip this inequality sign and keep the y on the left side so when you read the problem out, you'll know if you need to shade greater than or less than.